Welcome to the Noodle Podcast. We are Kate and Max, and we love noodling on what we've learned by accident. This podcast is a space where we share how we get the best out of ourselves and the people we've worked with. In today's episode, we look at how decision-making literally drains your brain of energy and how to feel safe about practicing decisions with minimum information. Hello, Max.
Hello.
Shall we talk about making decisions?
Shall we?
I don't know. Shall we?
I mean, we could talk about something else, maybe.
Yeah, or we could get someone else to decide what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, maybe we could put it off for another day. I mean, if we don't decide now, then we don't have to.
Yes.
Start.
And then we won't have got it wrong.
Oh. Or we've just kept our options open. Without nailing something down, everything's still possible.
So I think what we wanted to cover today was, some empathy with people who are in a position where they have the responsibility for making decisions and maybe they don't feel comfortable doing that. Maybe they don't have enough information to feel comfortable. Maybe they think it shouldn't be them, but everyone else has taken a step back and they're the person that's left with that.
Or pressured because of the role. I should make that decision.
Yes, I'm the manager. Who
I've
am
got
I if
that
I
hat
don't?
on.
Yeah.
Important hat.
Yeah. So you said something quite funny earlier.
Don't sound so surprised.
I know, sorry, that came out wrong. But there is a kind of sweet spot for decision making, and it can make you feel much more confident when you know what it is that you need. And even if you haven't got all of that stuff, what's the worst that can happen if you make the decision or don't make the decision? So you were saying something about you can overplay.
Well, you can overdo it, can't you? You can take too much responsibility for decisions, not share it. So you over-control, over-manage.
And you would know that was happening because people keep on coming to you, asking you about things that maybe you think, why are they asking me? Can't they do that themselves? But maybe you have created, maybe you thought it was for a good reason, but a place of safety where no one can really go forward with anything unless they've got your say-so. That's overplaying it.
Yeah. And then there's underplaying it. So not making decisions, creating this environment where nobody knows what's going on. They're not sure what's good, what's bad. Are we doing this? Aren't we doing it? That sort of vague feeling of meh.
Yeah.
Just that, and what you need is a Goldilocks space. You need the decision in the middle. So we need some decision porridge. We need good decision porridge.
Yum.
Not too much, not too little, not too hot. I'm over-labouring the idea now, aren't I?
No, I'm feeling hungry. I want me some decision porridge. So when do we see decisions as a manager, or when have you been in a situation where you kind of weren't sure what you were going to be doing? Have you ever had that? You're a very confident person.
Yes.
Have you ever made a decision that you really, really regretted?
No. That got very quick, didn't it?
Yes. How come?
Because I think that I do like keeping my options open, but I think that without making a decision, you can't keep moving forwards. So I'd rather make a decision and then course correct if it's not right, adjust, rethink, and sometimes you don't have enough data to feel like you can make a decision. But if you decide, you then move forward and then you realise you've got new information as a result of that decision where things start to happen. And then you can go, oh, this is happening. Now we've got more information. I think we should go a bit more left or a bit more right or whatever. So I don't think that making a decision most of the time, I'm sure there's some exceptions, but is a bad thing or a thing to fear.
For you, not making a decision at all is worse.
Yes.
Than making a decision and finding a safe way to do things. So in one of our noodles, delegating decisions, we talk about the criteria that some very successful people have had for decision making. So Jeff Bezos has this theory about, does it have consequences can those consequences be reversed, or
Yeah.
are they irreversible? So it's like, if you step through this door, is it a swing door that you can back through? In which case, maybe you're going to be comfortable coming to a different conclusion than if once you've made this decision, there's no going back. There are some serious consequences. And when you think about it, it's very rare that those serious consequences are things that are on your plate with a decision to make on your own.
Yeah, but as a manager, I think sometimes you can put people in a position where it feels like it's that, where it can be quite exposing, make a decision to present to a group of senior people, for example, and that can feel quite scary. So how do you help people to get to an earlier version of it with a bit of safety so that they feel that that isn't something that they've been forced into? It's a decision that wasn't theirs. It's a decision that they chose.
Yes.
Because that's really important.
Yeah.
So that reversible, irreversible, consequential, not as consequential. I think what we're saying is, we love what Jeff Bezos, is that the right way to say it? Yeah.
Bezos, yeah.
But how do you help, when you're responsible for other people, how do you help them do mini versions of things? So that they can practice and fail.
Yes.
If they want to. They don't have to fail. It's not the rules.
No, but I love that idea of having a sort of playground, a space where people can try stuff out, and you as the manager won't be, in there with them, but you're definitely available and checking in, or so that they can check with you. And it's a bit like having a soft launch of a project or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although so many times a soft launch isn't let's test it. It's or a pilot. A pilot really should be let's think about whether we're really going to go or not go ahead with this.
Minimum, I can't even say it, but minimum viable proposition.
P. Porridge. Minimal viable
porridge.
Yeah, that's what we want. That's
criteria, though, for your MVP.
Criteria are so important.
Yeah.
And you and I have found this, haven't we?
Yes.
We've got quite different personalities and quite different gut feels when it comes to making a decision. So if we're responsible for doing something for the good of our business, we've got to have clear, articulated criteria up front. And we've tried to make sure it's just a handful of criteria, but that we can both say yes or no. Does it fit this, this, and this? If yes, we go ahead. If no, we're going to need to tweak. That's really important when you're recruiting.
I was going to say, you were talking, when we were chatting about this the other day, about recruitment.
Yeah.
So have you experienced, when you've been recruiting, the impact of not having that criteria?
Sure have. And I learned from it. So I had a manager and I were recruiting for someone who would report to me. So it was important that both of us were comfortable. We didn't really have the written criteria. We had the job role. This is many, many years ago. And we saw a few people and both were like, they're not quite right. They're not a good fit for the team. This is when a fit for the team was okay to recruit on. And we know now that a fit for the team means you're probably overlooking a bunch of backgrounds, experiences, different types of people who can bring a new element to your team. We saw one woman who I really liked. I thought she answered the questions really well. She was super. She was kind of she was different. She sounded different to the rest of us in the team. She really looked different. She dressed a little bit strangely. I probably wouldn't have worn that for an interview, but I was overlooking all of that because I was thinking, I reckon she's got the experience and she could probably do the job. My manager and I afterwards did the sort of debrief. What do you think? And I said, all good. I think we found her. She's the one. And his chin literally dropped. And he said, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? There's no way we're having her. She's awful.
Wow.
And I said, oh, you are shallow. You're so shallow. Which he didn't deny. But we had to have a real deep conversation about this because we felt so differently. And it turned out our criteria were quite different as well. He wanted this person to reflect well on the team. So they needed to look and sound a certain way.
Sounds like a few little bias things coming in there as well.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know if I'd do the same thing again. I've got this book by Joan C. Williams, Bias Interrupted,
Right.
and she is really great. She's done so much research to show how much more difficult it is for people from non-white backgrounds, whatever you want to say, for women, for people of a lower social class, and how much more they have to prove they can do the job, how many more hoops they have to jump through than other people who are a fit.
That makes me think, though, about decision making anyway, and the pressure we can put on ourselves. So if you are at misfit, so if I think about a large chunk of my career feeling that I was masquerading as one of those people that fits in but wasn't really, is the fear that can drive in you in the decisions that you make and whether you go for things or you don't go for things. So whether it stalls you, and that can be as bad as well. You were always saying, not doing something is a choice. And I think sometimes people think that, oh, well, if I don't make a decision, that's fine, that's okay. But actually not doing something can be can reflect on you as much as choosing to do something.
As long as you pay attention to that rather than just ignore it altogether. Because in the not deciding or not choosing to move forward, there is information, isn't there? Because what is it about this situation? Okay, so what is it that I need to know? Or whose support do I need to have? Or should I actually be delegating this upwards or downwards? Maybe it isn't me. Maybe that's why I feel uncomfortable. We have got a big elephant in the room, I think, when it comes to how difficult it has been for the whole world to make a particular decision in the past couple of years with the pandemic, when there hasn't been enough information and we've had to take a risk. Often with decision making, there's a risk involved, isn't there? But do you have the vaccine or don't you have the vaccine? Without needing to get into it from a political stance. There's been an option there that most people have had to decide. Do I or don't I?
Yes.
And we haven't had enough information because it's never happened before. We've never known this situation. And again, a lot of people can think, well, what's the worst that would happen if I do? What's the worst that would happen if I don't? I don't know. So maybe sometimes it does come down to just make your best guess.
Yes.
It's tricky though, isn't it? When it could literally be a life or death decision.
This is cheery.
Porridge. Let's go back to porridge.
So let's think about decision making being something hard to do. And when I say hard, I mean physically hard and energetically hard, because on Friday you and I spent a whole day together, which is obviously exhausting, spending time with Max. I appreciate that. But we were doing a lot of work in the afternoon, going through decision after decision after decision on some work we're planning. And it just reminded me of our friend, I know we've mentioned him before, Mr. Rock, David Rock, and just talking about the fact that decision making is hard work. This bit of your brain is going, every time it's trying to make a decision, it is thinking about life or death. It's thinking, is this decision something that I need to be worried about or not? And every time you're doing that, it's gauging. And that's what, gauging, where does that sit?
So it literally uses more glucose in your prefrontal cortex. When you use your prefrontal cortex, which is the decision-making part of your brain. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
Yeah. So for many people, it's better to make big decisions first thing in the morning when you naturally have more oomph. You're a night owl though, aren't you? So you get better during the day.
Yeah.
By 3:00 in the afternoon, after making 40 proper decisions.
Yeah. You start to glaze, don't you? I can see that. She's not there. Hello.
My head was on the table and you could see Zeds coming out of me. Yeah.
But then I have had that though, when you come home and literally walk through the door and someone says, what do you want to eat tonight? So I can't make any more decisions. I've not got the ability to do it anymore. I've run out of decisions. All used up, all done.
And I think the last thing really about how hard decisions can be is, have you chosen to make this decision or has it been imposed on you? So what sort of thing is it that's coming at you? And what's your feeling about it? Big things.
Well, yeah. Redundancy.
Yeah.
Or being told when you're working in an organisation that you've got to cut back, whether it's ask people to leave, go through that horrible process of deciding who, or just cutting budgets, projects that people have been working on for ages, and then having to say, we're going to have to can that. I'm really sorry. I know you've put all that energy and effort. So those sorts of
Or a hiring
decisions.
freeze.
Yeah.
Or say you're working in IT and you've got some really great things that you want to happen, but now there's a change freeze. all those things, they just happen, don't they? And you've not chosen that, and it means that there's a consequence in terms of what you're able to do, and you can feel resentful about that, or you can work around it. Yeah. Okay, we can't do this, so what will we do?
Yeah, and you have to do that thing about reframing, don't you? You've got to choose it in the first instance, because otherwise you're not choosing it. You're on the back foot rather than on the front foot. And as a manager, and this is the thing about, is that everybody else is going to look to you to lead the way. And they're going to look for you to set the tone and for them to respond. And they will respond to your emotions. So if you are emotionally in a positive place, then they might not like it, but they'll see your lead and they'll take it. I mean, I can think of situations I've worked in at big picture stuff where government's imposing something, legislation, and organisation is reacting to it as a compliance activity. And as soon as you flip it into, but what if we chose to do this? What if it was our decision? Suddenly, creatively, you're in a different space. And it's the same with all of these sorts of situations. I know it's a bit cheesy to do the whole reframe, but it works.
I agree. And although some of this has sounded very heavy and deep, there are some simple ways of making decisions. You can just write down what your criteria. You can do this as a fun exercise with your team, or even if you're doing this at home, you can do it with your friends and family. Okay, if I was going to go on a date with this person, what are my criteria? Tick the boxes. Are some of these criteria more important than others? I like to have a weighted column. Yeah. And sometimes it just comes down to me. I'm going to decide.
I like the good weekend or good breakfast decision porridge.
I like it. I think that's all we've got time for today.
I think we have. So what noodles would we recommend though?
Reframe.
Obviously.
Change types. What kind of thing is it that's coming at you? Delegating decisions.
Yeah, definitely that. I think 6 hats.
Yes.
Could be good in here. Which
helps you have perspective and think about what are the risks and what are the what ifs, the bright, shiny future that could happen.
Yeah, makes you think it through rather than do it in a biased way.
Yeah.
And I guess simple rules is quite useful. It might be a sort of, that's more of a general way of making sure you're in a good space for whatever you're doing. So that's almost like a big version, a meta version of decision criteria, isn't it?
And if you need to get other people to fall in line with the decision that you've made or you're making, and something around those influencing skills, in narrative format is a good one to make sure that you're tapping into what your audience needs to know to feel comfortable to get on board.
Only those then.
Only those 12 million tea noodles. Yeah, lots in it. Can we have some porridge, please?
I think so. Let's go.
You can find a reminder of the concepts and noodles we've mentioned in this episode's blurb and get daily snippets on Instagram at noodle_space. Don't forget to subscribe, share and leave us a review. We love hearing your stories too on the chat at www.noodle.space.